Lost comms. Alright, today we're going to talk about lost communication procedures, both in VFR and IFR. So, if you lost communications in VFR, first thing you want to do is squawk 7600, and then you would remain in VFR and land as soon as practical. If you lost communications in IFR, squawk 7600, and then you want to fly a specific route. And there's an acronym for that. You also want to fly a specific altitude. So let's take a look at what those are. So for your route, use this acronym. AVEF stands for assigned, vectored, expected, and filed. And then you're going to fly the route that best. You're going to fly the route in this order. If you have an assigned route, you're going to fly that one. If you had vectors, you're going to fly that first. Then after that, you'll fly your expected, and then after that, you'll fly your filed. As for the altitude, put route up here. As for your altitude, you've got MEA. M is your minimum IFR altitude. E is expected. And A is assigned. And you're going to fly the highest of those. Alright, now that we know what route we're going to fly and what altitude we're going to fly to, let's set up a scenario. Let's say I'm going to give you guys a clearance. For your clearance, you'd use the acronym CRAFT. Let's say we were cleared to Yuma International with vectors to Victor 16, then to Blythe, then to Bard, and then direct. Climb to 3,000, expect 5,000 in 3 minutes. Departure frequency 123.7 and squawk 7125. Alright, so let's take a look at a chart and see how we're going to set this all up. Alright, so we're located right here at Phoenix Mesa Gateway. And we were told to get vectors to Victor 16. So let's just say they vectored us to Victor 16 right there. And then to Blythe. So we go here, and Blythe is right over here. Then we were told to go to Bard, which is over there. So we fly directly down here to Bard. Oh, no, sorry, that's Blythe. Bard is down here. Fly to Bard, and then direct to Yuma. So that's what our flight is going to look like for today. Now that you've got a little visibility, now that you see what we're going to do, let me just get rid of these lines. They're kind of in the way. So, let's say we're flying along. Let me use some red. Flying along, we're about like right there. And we haven't yet intercepted Victor 16. Let's say we lost communications. What do you do? Well, the first thing you want to do is obviously try and troubleshoot it. Check the radios, try and call tower or approach. See if there's anything wrong with the volumes. Maybe your headset isn't plugged in. Just check everything that you need to. Once you found out that nothing's working, what do you do then? Well, let's talk about what route we would fly. So we were being vectored to Victor 16. So we're going to stay on that track until we hit Victor 16. And then we're going to fly what's filed. So we're using the acronym AVEF. We're using the V in the acronym. We're being vectored, and then once we've completed that, we're using what we filed, so the F in that acronym. As for altitude, while we're being vectored, when we're around this area, we want to use our expected altitude. In the clearance that they were given, or that they gave us, it said that we had to climb and expect 5,000 in 3 minutes. So in this case, when we're around here, we would go to 5,000 and we would remain there. Once we get onto the route, we're going to start flying our minimum en route altitude, or minimum IFR altitude. So let's say we've already reached Buckeye. Right over here, we're passing it. What altitude would you fly at? Well, you would fly at 6,000 because 6,000 is the MEA for this leg. So let's say you're flying along and you get all the way to Blythe. Your next leg would be the Victor 135. So your next altitude that you'd fly at is 5,000 because 5,000 is the MEA, your minimum IFR altitude. Now let's say the MEA was 4,000. You wouldn't want to descend down to 4,000 because you're expected to fly at 5,000 in your clearance. And you always want to fly the highest out of the three. So in this case, instead of going down to the MEA of 4,000, you would remain at your expected 5,000 altitude. Alright, once you've flown all the way down to Bard, you're going to pick an approach that looks the best to go into Yuma. In this case, you'd want to pick an approach that uses Bard as an initial approach fix. And once you've established the approach, once you've figured out which one you want to use, then obviously you're just going to follow the published minimums for that approach and go into UMA. Now let's say you didn't even get this far at all. Let's just make up a new scenario. Let's say you barely made it past Blythe, or Buckeye. You're around this area. Let's say you had an engine failure. The best thing you would want to do is turn around, follow your flight path down the other way, and find the best airport for landing. In this case, since you're in instrument conditions, you'd want to find an airport with instrument approach. So just look for the green airports on the chart, such as this one, or this one. Me personally, I would want to fly all the way back and then do an approach into Phoenix, Goodyear, because that is the closest airport that has a instrument approach. So the key things to remember here are the acronyms. For route, you fly in order of assigned, vectored, expected, and filed. For your altitude, you fly the highest out of the minimum IFR altitude, expected, and assigned. Alright, that's about it. Thanks, guys.